On August 15, 1971, Richard Nixon appeared on television. He made an announcement that changed every dollar in your pocket, every dollar in every wallet, every dollar in every bank account in the world. He did not ask Congress. He did not hold a vote. He gave a 15-minute speech on a Sunday night, and the world has never been the same since. This is the story of the day money stopped being real. To understand what Nixon did, you need to understand what money was before he did it. For most of human history, money was a receipt, a claim on something real, gold, silver, grain, something physical that had value independent of any government. Paper money worked because you could, in theory, hand it to a bank and get gold back. That connection to something real constrained governments. You cannot print more receipts than you have gold to back them. Or at least, you were not supposed to. The system Nixon destroyed was called Bretton Woods. It was created in 1944 by the Allied powers after World War II. Under Bretton Woods, every major currency was pegged to the US dollar, and the US dollar was pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. The dollar was the anchor. Gold was what the anchor was tied to. And for 27 years it held the world economy together. After World War II, the United States had 70% of the world's gold reserves. The logic was simple. The US had the gold. The US dollar was as good as gold. So everyone else pegged their currency to the dollar. The British pound, the French franc, the German mark, all fixed to the dollar. The dollar was fixed to gold. This created a stable global monetary system. Exchange rates were predictable. Trade was easier. Investment flowed across borders because everyone trusted the anchor. For a while, it worked beautifully. But here is the problem with the Bretton Woods system. It required the United States to behave responsibly. It required America to keep enough gold to back all the dollars it created. And in the 1960s, America stopped behaving responsibly. The Vietnam War was expensive. Lyndon Johnson's Great Society programs were expensive. The government was spending far more than it was collecting in taxes. To cover the gap, it printed dollars. More dollars than it had gold to back. By the late 1960s, there were more dollars circulating in the world than the U.S. had gold in Fort Knox. The system was already broken before Nixon touched it. Nixon just made the break official. By 1971, the cracks were impossible to ignore. Other countries had started to notice something. The U.S. was creating more dollars than it had gold. They started doing the math. And the math was not good. France, under Charles de Gaulle, began demanding gold in exchange for dollars. The French were not alone. Britain, West Germany, Switzerland. Other countries began converting their dollar reserves to gold. They could see what was happening. They wanted real value before the music stopped. By the summer of 1971, the U.S. had lost a significant portion of its gold reserves. The gold window was bleeding. Every day that passed, more gold left Fort Knox. Nixon's economic advisors met secretly at Camp David the weekend before the announcement. They debated what to do. The options were limited. They could devalue the dollar, make each dollar worth less gold. They could impose harsh austerity, cut spending, raise taxes, accept a recession. Or they could simply close the gold window. Stop allowing foreign governments to convert dollars to gold. Break the promise entirely. Nixon chose option 3. He called it temporary. It was not temporary. That was 54 years ago. The gold window has never reopened. The announcement came on a Sunday night in August. Nixon chose Sunday deliberately. Markets were closed. Foreign governments could not immediately react. By the time anyone could do anything, the decision would be done. He called it the Nixon Shock. In his speech, Nixon framed closing the gold window as a patriotic act. He said he was protecting the dollar from foreign speculators. He did not mention that America had been printing money it could not back. He did not mention that foreign governments were simply doing the math. He blamed the victim, and it worked. The American public largely accepted it. The dollar survived the announcement. The Dow Jones actually went up the next day. Marketists decided the news was good, or at least better than the alternative. After August 15, 1971, money became something different. It was no longer a receipt for gold. It was a promise backed by nothing except the authority of the U.S. government. Economists call this fiat currency. Fiat is a Latin word meaning decree or command. Your money is worth something because the government commands it to be worth something, not because it represents anything real. This changed everything we have discussed in this series. Without the gold constraint, governments could print as much money as they needed. The Cantillon effect, which we covered last video, became turbocharged. There was no longer a physical limit on how much new money could be created and handed to the people nearest the printing press. Inflation in the 1970s went to 14%. The Fed had to raise interest rates to 20% to stop it. Paul Volcker, the Fed chair at the time, called it the most severe peacetime economic crisis since the Great Depression. It worked eventually, but the pain was enormous. Millions of people lost jobs, businesses collapsed. The transition from gold-backed money to pure fiat was not painless. So why does a Sunday night speech from 1971 matter today? Because everything we have talked about in this series is downstream of that decision. Banks creating money from nothing, only possible, because there is no gold constraint. The Fed printing trillions with a keystroke, only possible in a fiat system. The Cantillon effect, running at full power, supercharged by unlimited money creation. The wealth gap, widening with every round of QE, accelerated by removing the anchor. Nixon did not cause all of today's economic problems, but he removed the constraint that might have limited them. He gave governments unlimited power to create money. And he did it on a Sunday night without a vote, in a speech that lasted 15 minutes. And most Americans at the time had no idea what had actually happened. Your dollar is worth what it is today, not because of economics, not because of mathematics, because of a Sunday night speech, because one man decided to break a promise that an entire global monetary system was built on. The money in your pocket is fiat. It is backed by faith, and the faith is backed by the U.S. government's ability to tax you and make you pay your debts in dollars. That is it. That is all that stands between your money and worthlessness. Understanding this does not make you powerless. It makes you one of the very few people who actually understands what money is. Subscribe if you want to keep pulling on this thread, because we are just getting started.